Hello everyone, I am Proto or Prototype Alpha, and today I've got for you a nice lovely spooky game by the name of Apsulov End of Gods. So we'll just get straight into it. This category is New Game Plus because it's just slightly faster, which I'll explain later on in the run. But time will be when I gain control of the character, after the end of this first cutscene. So, Apsulov End of Gods is a futuristic Norse mythology themed game, and we play as a human who is being experimented on. So, GLaDOS there is very interested in us, and we'll find out why later on. See, at this point, even the character doesn't know. So, time will start in 3, 2, 1, now.
Who are you? Where am
Then, in this starting room, we've got a couple of tests that we'll need to complete, and it's random which two of these tests will be selected. So we got cube 1, nice simple one, just press the button. Then this one, we have to open a box and put the key in, nice and easy. Then final test is to come over here. But oh no, it's a trap. So now we've just been upgraded and we now have the power to see things which normal humans wouldn't be able to see.
No! What the hell did you do to me?
So Jet, which sign do you think our character is? Which tattoo should we get? Got some lovely faces of some gods, I believe. So, spoiler alert. We're this one. If you know your Norse mythology and Nordic runes and all that, you'll know that this is the sign for hell. Now, press that button and escape. Every spooky game needs its vents, and we already get them this early in onto the run, but there'll be plenty more for us. So here there's nothing really much you can do to speed up the vents. So here there's some codes we need to put in, and I've forgotten already. I almost had it. Yeah, there's a bunch of doors with codes, and they always have the same codes. So as long as you remember the codes, then you're fine. So at this point, our character is unable to talk. So, yeah. That will probably need to be fixed at some point. Hopefully not too far into the future. But for now, we need to leave the vents. So here's the robot that's experimenting on us, and here's a save stone. And what we can do is we can reload the checkpoint to skip that little waiting section with dialogue. It only works for that part and for the final boss. So here we have the skip to skip waiting for a man that runs at us. And that's actually a skip that I found 2 years ago when I first started learning this run. And then another skip that I also found during that same time is way to skip waiting for that ladder, and as long as you hug that wall you will take a lot of damage, but you won't actually die from it. Yes, there is full damage in this game. And of course it wouldn't be an FPS game without elevators. So the place we're in is called Ball Corporation, and it's a company that was founded to research the Norse mythology, and they uncovered an artifact called the Apsulov, and that's the biggest part of this facility. But right now we're down in the deep depths and we need to get up into higher ground. So that fan there is RNG, whether it'll stop in your way and you have to wait for it to move out of the way, or whether it stops in the right position for you to just keep going. So once I reach the top of this ladder, I'm going to do a small optimization by holding back and then jumping twice, so I go over the railing and I don't have to walk around it. Doesn't save much time at all, but it's a neat little optimization.
Do you see? She left because she hates.
So as I said earlier, our sign is of hell, which means we must be Hel, the daughter of Loki. And Hel has a pet, and his name is Fenrir. So that was the dog that was trying to find us. So here he is again. You can teleport apparently. Now another door. Which they like to keep the codes near to the doors. So again, this one, there's code around back here. And we need to unlock this one. Yeah, the controls for keypads is very awkward because you have to use the movement keys to control that. You can't use the mouse and you can't enter the numbers, unfortunately. So now we're up onto the research floor. And we need to find our way out of this floor. So there's lots of artifacts in these research rooms, and we need to go through this airlock, but we need a way to open it. So we need a key to unlock it. Surprise, surprise. And to get it, we need to go this way. Because there is a friendly person over here who will give us said key. In fact, you could say that he will give us a hand with the door. So here we grab his hand. Obviously he doesn't need any more, but it has a genetic code in it which allows us to scan it and unlock doors. So these enemies like to chase you around, but if you run far enough away from them, then they'll just leave you alone. So now that we've got the code for this airlock, we can actually get past it. But throughout the run we'll be getting a few more codes. But for the most part we only get like 3 of them. Because as you can imagine, this game is a little bit broken. So here we're going into another vent, but it's got all these disgusting roots inside of it. And the reason for that is that these roots are the roots from the Yggdrasil. So these roots will teleport us to other worlds. So this here is Helheim. It's very lovely this time of year. But they do have some rather hideous inhabitants. These spider-like creatures, which we will say hello to and give one of them a hug. So it's explained later on in the run, but these monsters are actually demons that have possessed the corpses of evil humans. Why they turn into spider-like creatures, no one knows. I guess it's for the horror aspect of this game.
If I would have been 5 seconds late, the demons would have torn
So now we meet our companion here.
spared your life, but left you broken.
He will be talking to us on the radio for the most part and directing us on where to go.
You better.
And as you can probably guess, this guy isn't entirely sane.
No, you stay down. The anesthetics haven't left your system yet.
Oh, my head.
Okay, let's see here. Speech should be fine. Prepare
So
the patient.
luckily this guy knows how to do operations on people, so he fixed our voice and gave us a neat looking arm.
When it's bonding to you. Huh. I know. I have a few of my own. Anyway,
So you might see in that arm it's got sort of capsules inside of it. That is actually the upgrades. So the reason why this is faster is that NG Plus allows you to keep all of the upgrades you collected during New Game. So we use a New Game Plus save so that we have all of the upgrades. So we won't need to worry about collecting any upgrades during the run.
I fixed your voice. And your arm.
Who are you? What's going on?
So this arm is actually our weapon. So we will be using the arm to shoot things.
My wife, Sarah. She's up on the surface, Rob.
Unfortunately,
So here's a bit of a story. This guy is the CEO of War Corporation,
as well.
and his wife is apparently on the surface.
To me.
I brought you back from Helheim.
Henrik, calm.
And this is the arm
Save her.
or hand that we grabbed earlier.
I don't want to lose you.
And our arm has a neat little trick
Since she already has the
where we can scan it and get the code from it.
Your new arm holds great power.
Also, the leaning in this game is
Channel a magnetic
quite strong.
force. It's based
Unfortunately, it's not actually useful in the run though.
plan brought into fruition by Henrik. The arm is called Jerngreper.
You brought a hand with you. Use the Jungreper to extract the RFID from it. You'll gain access to all doors with that level of security clearance. Now try it. Scan the hand on the table and then use it downstairs on the lock.
I know this is.
So now that we scanned the hand, we can unlock doors using our own hand without needing to carry anything around.
More as you go.
I'm going to make lots of saves during this run, because there's lots of places where I can mess up and die.
Henrik? I'm losing connection.
So here is normally where you go down there and you
Earthquakes are getting
grab an upgrade as part of the new game,
faster.
but we don't need to do that because we already have them.
You need to know.
So we can just continue our outer bounds.
Yes.
Good. You can hear me as long as our radio can reach your Bifrost.
There we go, and then now we need to clip back in. Luckily we can do so just here, but it's quite scary because you can get stuck into walls like that. And unfortunately there's no way out except to reload. Which is why I saved. So these outer bounds can be very finicky with the collisions.
I'm losing connection here.
Earthquakes are getting far too
But we're actually running on the first version of the game,
Please hurry.
because throughout the lifetime of games updates, they fixed a bunch of the out of bounds.
Good. You can hear me as long as our radio can reach your Bifrost system.
So it looks like we didn't quite clip in again. No matter, we can try again. This one, it does usually work first try most of the time.
I'm losing connection here.
But because the collision there is all rocks, it's not all
Faster.
even,
Hurry.
and then there's usually multiple layers of collision.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. You can hear me as long as our radio can reach your Bifrost system.
Okay, there we go. So now we need to head over to this elevator over here, because we need to unlock this level of the elevator when we come back here later. Otherwise, we will softlock. Luckily, we have the code for it, so we can just scan it, and now it unlocks. Now we need to go back and collect these items here, which are batteries for our weapon. And now we get some more cutscenes, some more lore, because apparently during that short amount of time we managed to pick up a skull, which is one of the keys to insert into the Apsulov,
And now you're taking the first step in my plan to save the
which we won't see until we get the second key.
world.
Yes, but
Now, there's much I have to show you, and time is of the essence. At the end of the hallway is a room. The key code is 3425. I'll direct you once you've entered the room. Please.
So now we need to head over to some place. I believe it's a medical place. But luckily we can get out of bounds relatively close to the entrance, and then we can hit the trigger from out of bounds and then come back in bounds. And then head on to the next cutscene.
This clears a lot of things up for us.
So, the start of the game is relatively slow.
you're welcome.
Right here is the trigger.
Thank you.
So, you hit that trigger, so now the game thinks we've already been there.
You have
So we can trigger the next cutscene over here.
I bet you're wondering who you are. Well, so am I. But I'm locked out of the facility's main base.
So I'm quickly recharging my arm because this will give us infinite batteries. So we want to have as much charge as possible.
No, Sarah. I
Here's the second skull.
So far, you've met my
And because we finished the other section so quickly, the dialogue from that section plays over this section.
system.
What
Sever
is
the
this
connection
place?
between
What-
most of the systems and the
Also, this guy has a very cool setup.
facility.
Scraping together resources
I don't know what any of it means, but it looks pretty cool.
a place
I would
to
do it
research the
myself,
thing
And he's got some of that
strong
and superstition.
virtual keyboard going on.
along the way.
the last divine artifact left in Midgard. You've already seen it on your way down.
That statue.
And of course,
Upstairs?
just like in everything,
We used
in the future, people still use Windows.
to open rifts
So
between
that there is a
we made
an
enormous
Windows blue
discovered
screen,
new worlds and
because of
found
course they use Windows in the future. So you can see various things happening on the surface on these screens.
our world, and now everything is just falling apart. I'm trapped down here, and we have lost control.
It looks like they're using Windows XP,
The only
which is
way
a bit
stop the world
old
falling
for
into chaos
being in the
is
future,
to
but
find 9 keys and insert them
I guess
into
it
the
still works fine.
The artifact acts as the gate, and the keys will keep Midgard from being littered with the roots spreading across the surface.
So here's a bit more
And unless we
backstory and information on future tasks that we need to do, and why this guy is doing what he's doing.
How do you know where the keys are?
years of research alone and with my associates, scouring through endless texts of the 9 worlds.
Who is Alice?
Enough questions! You have the key! Order must be restored to the realms of Yggdrasil, and the evils from beyond must be locked down.
So next up, we've got a very scary outbounds, which requires us to reduce our FPS down to 15, so that the world around doesn't load in too quickly. So we hit a trigger that takes us to one of the realms of Yggdrasil. But it will be a sequence break, so it won't actually be the one that we're supposed to go to. But since we already have 2 of the keys, we need a 3rd one. So this jump can be a little bit finicky because you're jumping onto a surface that is sloped. But once we're up, we can just go down the other side, land on here. Now we need to drop down here and lower FPS so we hit a trigger without dying. So I have a keybind that allows me to reduce my FPS to 15, and now we hold a few buttons and hope we get it. So we didn't actually get it there. So we need to try again. Because in this game, if you die, you get taken to a trial realm where you have to place in some orbs without getting killed. But that's slow when we can just reload the checkpoint. You will get to see that world later on when it's required. There we go, we managed to clip in to the right area and we're now getting teleported. So I believe this location is Jotunheim. And in this world that is very dark, there are some rather slimy monsters. I haven't really brushed up on my Norse mythology, so I can't tell you who some of these are, like this giant worm that will eat us. I don't know if that's a significant figure in Norse mythology, but it seems to play a role in this game. So now we're inside the worm, or rather we're inside the worm's lair. And it's really dark in here, so we're going to be using our sight, which luckily allows us to see in the dark. Again, similar to the vents, we're crawling through tunnels because that's what horror games like to do. And as you can see, our what's called the sight has a time limit, so every now and then I'll have to turn it off just to recharge it. So we're collecting these batteries along the way. because we will need some later. Now, instead of going down there, we are going to go out of bounds. There we just... Now we're at the outside of the area. And we can just run to the end of this section. And we will then be collecting another skull and another key item. So here we're going to clip back in bounds by coming up here and clipping in right here. Nice and easy. Now here's the other skull and the Eye of Odin, which we apparently need to do something later on. But for now we need to leave this place. And there are these scary worms that are trying to eat us. But they're too slow, they can't catch us. So we just run to the elevator and we're safe. So that was Jotunheim. Or what I believe is Jotunheim. So now we need to leave this place, and luckily we can just come back the way we came. So this area is the area that we clipped into with the large out of bounds.
What's going on?
And now we need to plug in the keys into the Apsulov tablet.
I think the spirit is taking control of the base again. Please, insert the key into the Apsulov tablet and finish this.
So at this point, the game expects you to have already put in the other keys. But we didn't do that. We're going to put them all in right now. But we need one more.
You have to excuse me. Don't abandon us. We have to find all the artifact keys as soon as possible. The next one is in another part of Niflheim. On top of a tower of ice. A beacon of light. From the Apsulov research room, you have to go through the east wing. The code to the gate is 3825.
So this game likes to use 25 as the end of their codes. And of course, because this is a futuristic facility, they have a lot of unnecessary things. Like this area here just rotates 180 degrees. Because there are no other doors around here. So they could have just made a straight line, but instead they wanted to be fancy about it. They've clearly been to Black Mesa. So now we're heading to another realm of Yggdrasil. But it takes a little while for us to get there. So I will save again just in case. Usually this section goes fine, but because it's marathon, we like safety instead. So in this section, there are two of these guys here standing in front of a door. They'll grab us unless we shoot, then they'll smack us and they'll let us pass. So if they grab us, we get stuck into an animation, it takes ages, and we lose health. And if you take too much damage, those enemies can one-shot you. So now we're coming up on another airlock, but we need to unlock this one. There's these power receptacles which we charge up using the arm. And luckily there's a recharge station here, so I will recharge my arm fully, so I can save the batteries I have for the final fight. So I'm gonna recycle the airlock, because we'll be coming back here later on in the game. But for now we need to head up this way, because we need to get another code. This guy has a code, but it's not the right one. We need a specific code. We need the number 4. And luckily for us, there's a guy in this room over here who has the right code for us. So, you don't need to kill them, you can just scan them. And now we can progress on. So a small optimization here. Normally you'd have to crawl underneath through that pipe, but you can just jump over it. Now, opening more doors. So there's a lot of exploration in this area, but that's unnecessary for a speedrun. So we can just run past all these doors. And the enemies. But the enemies are very persistent. Now we got another door. Now we need to unlock another door. And to unlock this one, we need to charge 2 of these power banks. And the neat thing we can do is, if we stand in the right place, we can shoot one at the back, while also having the shot clip through this one and charge this one as well. So that saves us ammo. And we like having ammo. So we've got 16 of these batteries. We will be using some of them, but for the most part, we can recharge them. So here, up in communications, it's a little bit chilly. So here we need to unlock an airlock, which we can do so just by shooting it. Now there's another one at the end of this here, but we can just shoot it from a distance. Normally you'd be expected to walk up to it and interact with it, but you can just shoot them, as the tutorial section tells you can do. And now we are heading to another World of Yggdrasil. So part of the story tells you that this is actually part of Helheim. A part that iced over. And in this world, there are giants. And just like humans in other games involving aliens, they decided to experiment on the giants. Which, as you can imagine, would probably make them rather angry. And since we look like a human, they will probably not be too happy that we're here. But we need the last skull to put into the Apsulov tablet, and it is located here, very high up in the mountains. Luckily, there's a path straight to it. So here we unlock another door. And then here we don't have the code. You can't unlock this one normally. But with the sight you can see there's a neat little hacking minigame. So here you have to time it right and shoot the door when the circle touches the green part. Just like that. But if you miss it, the circle will spin slower until eventually it just says, okay, you suck at video games, I'll unlock the door. But we don't need to worry about that because we're gamers. And to go fast, we need to be gamers. So we can just one-shot it. That is actually the only door in the game we're going to need to unlock like that. Normally there'd be a bunch of other doors they would unlock for, you know, like secrets and upgrades and all that, but we just skip them. I mean, we've already got all the upgrades, so we don't need to get any of that. That's something for the 100%ers to do. But this game's community is very small, so there isn't actually a 100% rate. And there wasn't even a route for NG+, but it's pretty much the same as any percent, just skipping, picking up some stuff. So I think the giants might have heard us. Here we can get a boost if we're lucky. And we got the best boost possible, a boost that boosts us straight forwards. If that giant's hand hits you and you're in the wrong place, it will push you off to the side and then it won't be much use. So here we're scaling the mountains. And there are some of these giants around. These are known as the frost giants. And they have a significant part of the story. But for now, they're sleeping. Because as the saying goes, let sleeping giants lay. And that's exactly what we're going to do. But they don't mind us walking on them. Here's some small optimizations of just cutting corners. Because for the most part, this game, and especially the run, is more of a walking sim. So here there's some weird collision that we can just use to cut that corner. And we seem to have woken them up. So the gimmick of this realm is that the ice giants have a frosty gaze, and if they spot you, they will kill you. So we need to stay out of their cone of vision, which is handily shown with this blue light. And because they're giants, they will do a lot of damage, so they will one-shot you. So this is supposed to be a sort of forced stealth kind of section. So if we're fast enough, we can make it to this corner. And make it around that giant. That is a very tight cycle. And now we can connect the last skull that we need. But they're not happy. So these guys really want to kill us because we've woken them up. But luckily, our pet dog, he's come to the rescue. So as I said earlier, this is Fenrir, who is Hel's pet dog, basically. But he's also a descendant of Loki. So in new game, you can actually help him up to climb up here, but for some reason in New Game Plus, it just doesn't. The trigger for that doesn't exist. So unfortunately, we can't help him. So now we're back in Midgard.
Sarah, can you hear me?
Timing is a little bit bad. Do you have the key?
I got it, but I have to tell you
Just
that...
insert the artifact key into the tablet and hurry back here. There's something we want to show you.
Yeah, that's a small little Easter egg for saving Fenrir. I don't think there are many people that actually figured out that you could do it. I did during my first playthrough, luckily. But this isn't my first playthrough, this is my NG Plus playthrough. And we have the last key. And the story goes that 9 keys to lock the gate to the worlds of Yggdrasil. But oh no, we died. How did we die? So here is the Death Trials world. So when you die early on in the game, there will already be one of these orbs placed. So we need to be careful that Loki doesn't kill us, because he will one-shot us at this point. And if we die here, we die for good. We'll have to reload a checkpoint. So luckily the site allows us to find where the orbs are. And Loki is mad. But luckily he emanates green, so we know where he is. So we're using the Eye of Odin on the orbs, which is something that it'll do something slightly different. So here we got unfortunate AI RNG with Loki coming around behind us and spotting us. Because we cannot run while we've got the orb in our hands. So we need to drop it, so then we can run away from him. And we're good. So normally you would jump into this pit and then you'd respawn in the game. But because we use the Eye of Odin, something different happens.
Free! Finally I can touch this world without the help of
So, plot twist. The voice of Sarah was Loki all along.
You should have seen the face of Dr. Anderson when I told him.
So, what a plot twist that is, that not just ourselves, but also Dr. Anderson was being tricked by Loki the Trickster.
To lock the gate. No. 9 keys to remove the gate. Returning the
So the lore here is that the gods built, well, gods had a giant build the Apsulov to seal away Loki. But we have inadvertently set him free. Also, turns out Fenrir did survive that fall, but that was short-lived.
You think I don't know all of your little party tricks? I've been watching from the very beginning. Nothing eludes me. You have outstayed your welcome. You have played all your cards. All of it a complete and utter failure. And this time, my prison won't save you.
So now we're on to the back half of the game. So at this point, we don't know that we're Hell. So we have respawned in Helheim, but we have got an arm, but it's not the arm we want. We also can't use the sight, so we're essentially just a normal human at this point. So all of these spirits are the ghosts of Helheim. And who needs doors when you can just teleport through them? So this place is massive. And this room would normally have to go all the way down and around, but there's some collision here we can run along. A little bit scary, which is why I saved. So we just about made it. And now we're on the other side of that big rock. Cutting out a decent walking section. But we still got plenty more walking to do. Because apparently the only pastime in Helheim is walking. So we head up these large stairs. And would normally have to crouch underneath this bit of geometry, but we can just climb over it. Then we can land on that rock to prevent fall damage. And I wonder what that scary noise was. Oh look, it's our friends the spider monsters. So monsters, when they hit you while you're in the air, they can give you a boost. But it's very dependent on the angle you're moving at the time and the angle that the monster hits you at. So here we see the spider demons in their natural habitat. They appear to like UV light, but that doesn't interest us, so we're just gonna cut this corner by jumping on these rocks and continue on. Now we're finally out of that area and into another sort of hub area. So we need to cross this bridge in front of us, but unfortunately it's locked. Bridge isn't there unless we shoot those two targets to unlock the bridge. But luckily there's a route up here that will take us to a Word of Victory cell. And hopefully it's one where we can get our arm back. Because it's getting very tiring having this basic, boring hand. I want a hand that shoots things. So luckily for us, that route leads back to Midgard. And so here is a freight elevator at the end of this hallway here. And you do a little bit of waiting, but we can speed it up ever so slightly. So here we just run around these containers and avoid the monsters. So the monster chasing us right now can follow us all the way into the elevator if we're unlucky. So I jump on that box just to make sure that it loses track of us. So, this is the freight elevator. The out-of-bounds from here is kinda scary. But luckily we have plenty of time. So here, we get up onto this invisible wall, and now we need to jump off and land on an invisible wall above that railing, but there's a ceiling above us, so you need to make sure that we're far enough forwards that we don't bonk our head, but we're also able to jump onto this invisible wall. There we go, and now we can just jump up onto okay, I guess we won't jump onto that. So if you fall at any point after getting on top of those containers, you will be soft locked. You won't be able to get out of there. So now we've got up onto the ceiling of the freight elevator, but unfortunately we need to wait. This elevator is scripted to take a certain length of time and then unlock the other doors. If we leave too early, it won't recognise the elevator as being where it should be, so those doors will not open when we come back here later. So unfortunately, we need to wait for this elevator to get where it needs to go. But of course, in true game fashion, the elevator itself doesn't move. It's the walls around it. And we'll be coming back to this freight elevator 2 more times, but we'll only need to wait for it 1 more time. So we've got our time here. I will leave the elevator and head to the exit door when it gets to 200 meters left. Well, it looks like I accidentally fell down, which means I can't finish the out of bounds, but it doesn't matter because I can get back in bounds and just wait. I admit I haven't actually failed it up there because there's a thin bit of collision, and then you can see this corner just has no ceiling. But normally this is where we'd fall down by going through the out of bounds and clipping back in, and then we'd run over to this spinny thing over here, and then we'd have to wait for the elevator doors to open. We'll need to do the same when we head back the other way. So hopefully I'll get it then, and then I can explain it in more detail then. But essentially, it has an audio cue for when the elevator is considered being in place. So now this takes us to a section that was previously locked, and we need to go and get our hand, which is over this way. Because luckily for us, Loki didn't take the hand anywhere. So he killed us and then just left. So our hand is right here next to our old body. But now we need to attach it to ourselves again. And this is why we activated the elevator near the beginning of the game, because otherwise we have no arms, so we can't scan the code, which means we wouldn't be able to come down to this level, and we would have been soft-locked. So there have been some things happening while we were down in the depths of Helheim.
Henrik!
I didn't finish it.
So Loki had a bit of fun in here.
Finish it. You have to run. Run
So
away.
Henrik isn't actually dead yet, despite his body being torn in half and his entrails being all over the ground.
Did Loki do this to you?
Oh, Loki. He will pay. I swear to it. A soul stone.
So now we need to go and collect one of those stones we've been using to save the game. And luckily, Henrik was researching one over in this room over here. So we can just grab it, grab some batteries, and then head back to him.
Henrik! I found it.
So these soul stones are quite interesting in how they work.
Yes. No. No longer will I be contained. No. No longer feel this constant pain.
So these soul stones are able to absorb the soul, surprise surprise, of people. The ones we've been using have just been making a copy of ourselves. But because Henrik was dying, once his soul was taken out of his body, it couldn't be put back in, so he has died.
Getting the Eye of Odin.
So now our companion is talking to us without a radio.
We have to try to undo this.
So now we need to go and get us upgraded again.
We have to enhance you again. We have to get
But to do that, we need two pieces. We already have the arm, but we need Henrik's eye, because that is enhanced so that we can use the sight again.
Go to the room across from where I died. It has a surgical drone that can restore.
We technically don't actually need it, but because it's part of the plot, we need to collect it. So if you don't like blood and gore, you probably shouldn't watch for a few minutes. So now we've got the sight back. But now we need the armory attached. But because of the blood loss, we have lost consciousness. Which is probably just as well. So now we wake up again. And we've got the arm again.
The enhancement was successful. This isn't enough power to destroy Loki. We have to
And now we can continue on.
destroy that bastard. And to accomplish this, there are a lot of questions to answer.
Questions about me.
Loki had you made. He had something in mind. A great
So now we need to head back
to find out more in
to Helheim.
So I need you to
So we basically need to just go back where we came.
Time. Stop ordering
So
me
yes,
around.
that means
If you
back to
don't
the
know
freight
about
elevator.
me, then just tell me. I need to know.
when Loki cut my body in half in his indulgence of my torture. He spoke
So there is a save station in there,
her name was
but you need to unlock it using
long ago.
the codes that we don't have.
Artifact tissue
But you can hack into them.
creation was from hell
But
itself.
as long as you don't mess anything up and die, you don't really need the saves. They're basically there for safety.
Nothing in Midgard has the power
and that one doesn't really do anything. But someone did find a glitch in this earliest version of the game, where if you save at a certain at certain save points, like the save stones, and then enter a route before you get taken to the other part of the level, if you reload the checkpoint, the game will put you in a different place in the area where you saved. But there's loads of save stones around the place and loads of different routes. So we haven't really looked into whether or not that would actually be useful for us.
Open the Apsulov.
Now we have freight elevator again.
We better hurry.
So we can do this out of bounds one more time.
By the gods, the keepers of Helheim, evil humans that die.
Okay, so what happened there was that I wasn't close enough to the edge, so my head bonked on the ceiling, and I wasn't able to get across to the other side. So we will try it again. Because as speedrunners, we don't like waiting sections, especially when there's nothing to do during them. And this is one such thing, because normally you'd have to hide from the spider monsters, but because we're up out of bounds, they don't care about us. So we got back up onto the ceiling, and now we need to head over in this direction. But that jump is a little bit scary because unlike the other side, there isn't a wall flush with this collision to stop you from going too far. There is a gap between this collision and a wall right here, which, if you're not careful, you can get stuck in, and when you try and get unstuck, you can fall out into the void. So here we can just get up onto here, and we don't want to clip in just yet because there's plenty of places here where you can get stuck, because all of this is rock, and rock collision is very awkward, as I mentioned early on in the run. So instead we'll just clip out through this way here. So now we're back here. We got plenty of time to wait. But we need to get to the route. Luckily for us, we can go on top of the containers this direction. But it's not really any faster because we still need to wait for the elevator. So you heard a lot of thunks and other sort of metallic noises. That meant that the elevator made it to the top and was considered in the place it needs to be. Normally, you would come over here and you would wait until you hear those sounds, and then you can go into the route. So now we're back into Helheim.
We have to get across that gap somehow.
And it is actually possible to go along these rocks
I'm not sure, but I
to get to the other side of that bridge. But unfortunately, going from this direction, you just can't get up high enough. But luckily for us, it is actually useful on the way back. But for now, we need to make our bridge just by shooting these.
The energy signature
So now that we've crossed the gap, we need to head over to another place. So in this section here, it makes you go bobbing and weaving around rocks and more of the enemies. But because we're speedrunners, we just run past them. We don't care about them. So they will chase us, just like the other monsters. And they are actually faster than those other monsters. So if you're not sprinting, they will catch up. So here we have a gate. And we need to unlock the gate.
It's exactly as in the books.
And to unlock the gate to the temple, which looks like it came straight out of a Doom level, we need to make some sacrifices.
He paid his way with death. The gate will remain
So,
locked until the one
in this cave here,
prove themselves.
there will be
It's unlocked
the keepers of Helheim, and we need to kill them.
What type of sacrifices?
So we killed 2 of them, but we need to kill 9. And these enemies are roaming around the area, so it's RNG where they could be and if they're near any other enemies.
That's 4. Only 5 more. And be careful.
So luckily there's these poles that allow us to recharge our arm around the place. So finding these monsters is basically just you listen out for them. So now we've almost killed all of them. So we need to kill a few more. And if my memory serves, it should be just 1. And there is 1 down here. So we've now killed the amount that we need. So we can head back to the gate and it will unlock. So you can just jump onto this to cut the corner a little bit. Then climb up here. So we killed all the sacrifices, so the gate will open. But there's also a gate over there that we need to unlock on the way back. But at this point in the game, we don't have a certain upgrade. So notice how the arm is purple. Normally, the arm shines green, but because this is NG+, we already have the upgrade that we normally get as part of the normal plot. So we can use the powers of it already. So here we took the left side because that takes us to the top of these stairs. And we can just jump down here. And then we take a lot of damage, but we don't die to it. If you try jumping off the middle, you will die.
Ruler of Helheim, destroyed by the gods
So there's some mythology for you.
Did you just... How does it feel?
My arm is.
So now we have the upgrade that we already had,
I can barely feel it.
and it's one that allows us to absorb the souls of the dead.
The atrium.
And it also allows us to unlock the way by doing a charge shot
The essence of hell inside.
on the gate.
You're half god. Whose power has been returned to you.
So
Power.
that's what we needed
Death.
from Helheim. So now we need to head back again.
Draw power from them. Destroy the lock, holding us in this room, and let's get back to Midgard and end Loki.
So now we get the title music, which is nice pop. The music in this game is really well done. So now this gate is locked, but because we now have the power of hell, we can just leave. But there's another lock up ahead. But as long as we avoid the monsters there, we won't need to worry about them. Yeah, they don't care about us. Normally, you would come up to that gate and they would be trying to attack you. So now we have to head back through here.
Hell is awakening.
But because we absorbed the power of hell, all these monsters are awakening.
The destructive power of the new. Death. Death. What a vicious combination.
So we can also use the charge shot on these guys and absorb their souls. So you can take a shortcut across over these rocks, but it's risky. So you risk falling down, and because Loki is no longer imprisoned, he can't save us from death. So from the moment Loki was set free, the game became permadeath. So if you die, you don't get to respawn, you have to restart from a checkpoint, which could be very far away. But now we're back to Midgard again.
Finally. The atrium alone never stood a chance against Loki. But this combination is surely strong enough to end him. Forever.
So now we're heading back the exact same way. But this time we don't actually need to cycle the elevator. But as always, I will make a safety save just in case. So if you interact with the save points while jumping, you'll maintain momentum, and then that will be where your respawn point is at. So I get to show you the out of bounds for this side. So here we can just jump at this wall and land against, or land on this railing. And because we haven't cycled the elevator, this section hasn't loaded in just yet. But because we've got a high enough FPS, it will load in nice and quick and we'll land on top of the tunnel. Now we can jump down here and break our fall so we don't die to full damage. And now we can head back to Loki. So I will quickly make a save here, just in case. Because as I mentioned, from here on out, it is permadeath, and I don't want to have to do that out of bounds again. So at this point in the story, Loki is trying to take over Midgard. So he now has control of the monsters in this area, which he will use to try and stop us. But luckily for us, we can kill them.
Loki! We have come for you! Blast him!
So now we need to shoot Loki with the charge shot 3 times.
The power you are wielding, the powers of my daughter, you wield them. I underestimated you, my dear. You are finally everything I made you to be. Prove that your creation was truly a blessing. Let me see you wield those powers.
So yes, at this point, Loki acknowledges that his experiments using tissue from Hell and transplanted into a human has worked in bringing back his dead daughter. But at the same time, we aren't quite Hell, because we are still technically human.
Yes, and unmiserable lives.
So again, the safety save, which isn't necessary for this section. So we're now revisiting an area we went to earlier on in the game. But there are more monsters out to attack us. And we need to be careful of them.
For the same, you and I, mistreated and underestimated. The gods underestimated me, killed my sons and my daughter. Locked me up in that prison that you so kindly.
So we actually did die, which is unfortunate. So you can get enemies that spawn in awkward locations, and they will just smack you a bunch of times and then you'll die. On the harder difficulties it takes less hits, but we're playing on the easiest difficulty for speed.
For the same, you and I, mistreated and underestimated. The gods underestimated me, killed my sons and my daughter. Locked me up in that prison that you so kindly released me from. Look at me now.
So these monsters can actually get into this airlock with you if you're not careful. So here we shoot Loki again. I know when he's going to pop up, so I recharge the shot. Now I need to shoot him one more time.
They used the giant to build the Apsulovs. Only they could travel between the worlds. They made Yggdrasil their playing field. I simply evened it with 9
So that jump is very awkward, and if you jump at the wrong time, your sprint will be eaten, and you'll actually die from full damage there. So that was an unfortunate death, but maybe I should make an all deaths one.
For the same, you and I mistreated and underestimated. The gods underestimated me, killed my sons and my daughter. Locked me up in that prison that you so kindly released me from. Look at me now. I outlived them all. No, my precious daughter, don't do this. The gods of Asgard did whatever they wanted, and they used the giant to build the Apsulov so only they could travel between the worlds.
So for safety reasons, I am just going to use the ladder here, which is slower, but normally you'd be able to jump onto the railing and you would take less full damage. Oh, and apparently I didn't keep track of my charge, so we're dead. This is definitely not a very good last chapter. I will admit. But we will make it out of here.
For the same, you and I mistreated and underestimated. The gods underestimated me, killed my sons and my daughter. Locked me up in that prison that you so kindly released me from. Look at me now. I outlived them all. No, my precious daughter, don't do this. The gods of Asgard did whatever they wanted, and they used the giant.
So we're good on charge now.
The Apsulov, only they could travel between the worlds. They made enters out there playing
I will refill my charge a bit more,
with 9 realms in union, a new world to sprout, untouched by their memory.
because we need charge for the final boss.
That your mind is corrupted by that porn.
So there we go, we have defeated Loki.
This can't be.
But what's this? He's not actually dead. So it turns out we have to fight him again. This time he is a monster. But we can actually restart this checkpoint to skip the cutscene. Now, this fight is basically just shooting at these eyes, and then you blast them with a charge shot. And what you can do is, if you get the right angle, you can shoot the eyes from the opposite side. So we're standing on this corner here, because otherwise those worms would try and attack us. So it can be a bit awkward to figure out where the eyes are, because it is randomized. And if you get the wrong angle, then it just doesn't let you shoot it from the opposite side. That's 2 shots. And now, third phase. So there you go, I shot the eye from the wrong side. And there's third one. We can shoot him. But that isn't time. There's a little bit extra at the end here. Because now we need to choose our fates. But do get ready on time.
So proud of you, my dear. You have come so very far. All on your own accord. You are truly my daughter.
Slay him! Hell! Kill the bastard!
Listen to me. Listen to me.
So here we get a choice. We can listen to Henrik and kill Loki. Or we can join Loki and rule the new world.
Only dying mortal races, clutching for survival in chaos. But I know how to control the new, united world.
But luckily for us, one of the options comes up earlier than the other. Which you can probably guess what it is.
As father and daughter.
Loki is a lunatic. I wouldn't trust him with the entire world.
Get ready on time.
And rid us from all of his corruption.
And time.
What have you done?
So that is the bad ending for Apsulov End of Gods. It's a bit of a sloppy run, which is mostly my fault because I didn't practice the later parts of the run very much. But then there are also some things that just didn't happen in practice.
Much to show you, my dear.
So I want to give a shout out to Random Pink Bunny, who unfortunately couldn't be here to be my commentator today. And I also want to thank the entire dev team for making such a great game and also being open to speedrunners, because they found some glitches that they chose not to patch out because they would affect speedrunners but wouldn't affect casual play. So at the end of the credits here, we have what would probably be considered a an open end for a sequel.
Father, wake up! The Apsulov has started Fimbulwinter, and Helheim has awakened from its slumber.
Awaken Odin and get my hammer. We have to pay a visit to Helheim again.
So that's the end of my run. So I want to thank everyone for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the marathon.